Though there are thousands upon thousands of people who have come out of their physical and psychological ailments. This is not about health, in the sense, when I say it's not about health, it's just that health is just a side effect. If you keep yourself in a certain way within yourself, physical body being health comes naturally to you. So, what is all this about, this yoga? I know the word yoga for most people here in the United States means impossible physical postures. Or, really tying up your limbs in the knots. The word yoga literally means union. Union means what? What is it that you can unite? So today, modern science is proving to you beyond any doubt that the whole existence is just one energy manifesting itself in a million different ways. When Albert Einstein said E is equal to mc squared, he's just proving that to you, that it's all the same energy, happening in many, many ways. Now it may be a little hard to swallow in your understanding of yourself, but what he's telling you is, this piece of metal and you are same energy. That's what is being proved scientifically. So the whole existence is just one energy. If it is one energy, why is it that you do not experience it that way? One aspect of it is because your intellect is constantly discriminating. The basic function of the intellect is to discriminate, to set things apart. You are able to make out the difference between me and this chair simply because your intellect is functioning. If your intellect was not functioning, then this would all be just one explosion of life. This function of the intellect to discriminate between you and the other is very essential for the process of survival. To fulfill the requirements of survival, there has to be a distinction between you and me. Otherwise, if let's say lunch arrives in front of you, you don't know whether to put it into your mouth or to put it into the wall or into somebody else's mouth or where. There's no distinction. So, the intellectual discrimination is essential for survival. If your intellect was not functioning, you wouldn't know whether to come through the door or through the window or through the wall. So, to survive, intellect is very essential. If you look at yourself closely, you will see one part of you is all survival. Self-preservation is a basic instinct in every creature on the planet. Without this instinct, one cannot sustain life. Do you see every single step that you take? Your instinct of self-preservation is active with every single walking step I'm talking. Is it so? Yes. You're walking, suppose it feels like you're going to fall down. Do you see immediately you're going to grab something? The instinct of self-preservation is constantly, every moment active. At the same time, there is something within you which is longing to be something more than what you are right now. All the time in your life, isn't it? Is it so? Are we talking to us or not? Are you angry with me? I come afterwards across the world and ask you a simple question. I assume you're angry. Do you see there is something in you constantly longing to be a little more than what you are right now? Yes?
Yes.
Whatever you may be, it is seeking to be something more. If you look at this dimension, one thing is constantly one aspect of you is constantly trying to preserve yourself. Another aspect of you always wanting to extend yourself. You want to expand in some way, whichever way you know. If you know knowledge, you want to acquire more and more knowledge, and you want expanding. How much ever you acquire, it is not enough. You want a little more and a little more and a little more. If you know only money, that's your currency. If you know only pleasure, that's your currency. If you know power, that's your currency. Whatever you're seeking, you're constantly seeking to find some sense of expansion to yourself. So you want to expand. How much expansion would settle you for good? How much would settle you? Nothing seems to settle you. That means, what is it that you're longing for? You're looking for infinite expansion. You want to become boundless. One aspect of you is always trying to draw boundaries around you for the sake of self-preservation. Another aspect of you constantly wanting to break all boundaries and become boundless. Now, these two dimensions, if they function unconsciously in you, they seem to be in conflict. People struggle all the time, whether to preserve themselves or to give themselves. This struggle is happening in everything that you do, isn't it? Preservation, you need to understand, should be limited to only the physical part of us. There is nothing else to preserve. Everything else can be demolished. Everything else that you consider as yourself is just pure nonsense. It needs to be demolished. The only thing that you need to preserve is the physical part of you, isn't it? Yes? Rest of it, we can afford to demolish, isn't it so? No? No? Because whatever else you call as myself is just a bundle of thoughts, emotions and opinions. This is all junk that you picked up from the world around you. This is not you. These are all the nonsense that you picked up from around you, isn't it? depending upon what kind of societies, families and educational, religious backgrounds you come from, accordingly that's the way you think, that's the way you feel, and that's the way you emote. These things are not important because you could make anything out of it. If you can demolish that and preservation is limited just to your physical body, then you would see wanting to expand, that dimension could be allowed to happen. Right now, both the dimensions are happening unconsciously. When they're happening unconsciously, it all seems to be in conflict. If everything in you begins to happen consciously, then there is no conflict about this. You can preserve your body well, and rest of it you allow to expand. Right now, this wanting to become infinite, this longing is always there. If it finds physical expression, then there seems to be a lot of struggle with that. See, the preservation aspect needs to limit itself to the physical. The expansion aspect, if it becomes physical, then it's frustrating. Right now, these two things are mixed up for people. Their preservation is not just limited to the physical, it has extended itself to other dimensions of life. And their expansion has not gone beyond the physical, it is seeking physical expansion. People want to acquire more and more, they want to include more and more. There's no end to this. If I make you, I won't have this telling you, okay? If I make you the queen or king of the world, of this planet, will you be fulfilled? You will look up at the stars, won't you? Yes? So if you seek physical expansion, it's a frustrating thing. You'll never get there. Because the very nature of the physical is finite, isn't it? The very nature of the physical is between two boundaries. If you seek infinite physically, you're bound to be frustrated. There is no other way. Right now, this is what is happening. This is why all the struggles in life, preservation needs to be limited to the physical. The longing to expand has to transcend the physical. If this doesn't happen, life is going on as a huge conflict within yourself. Now, we want to expand in an unbounded way, but how? Physically, definitely we can never become unbounded. If we have to know unboundedness, we have to transcend the limitations of the physical. Right now, what is it that is binding us to the limitations of the physical? Right now, your whole experience of life is limited to 5 sense organs, isn't it? Everything that you know in your life has entered you, either by seeing or hearing or smelling or tasting or touching. This is the way the world has entered you, isn't it? So? Yes. Now, the world has entered you only through 5 sense perceptions. Sense organs, in the very nature of things, can experience only that which is physical. They can perceive only that which is physical. Is that so?
Yes.
No? Can you see something which is not physical?
No.
Yes? What is that?
A word.
Huh?
A word. Right.
A word?
When you read it,
Its book is physical, isn't
Yes.
but not the word.
it? What is written there is physical, isn't it?
But when I say a word, I see a meaning.
That's different. Meaning you make it up in your head.
Okay.
See, suppose from the day you were born, we taught you like this. Yes is no, no is yes. Okay? You're reading a book, yes, 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 you think no, no, no. Isn't it so? So it's something made up in your head. That's why I said you're trying to say yes but saying no. See, words are meanings that we have given, isn't it? If you don't know the language, you open an English book and what does it mean? It doesn't mean a damn thing. So the meaning is not there. The meaning is here. We made it up. But what you see is physical. The book and the print is physical, isn't it? Can you see something that is not physical?
Nope.
There is really no struggle about it. It's very clear. You don't say anything. This is not You cannot hear, smell or taste or touch anything which is not physical. Sense organs in the very nature of things have contact only with the physical. And the physical dimension cannot expand. It is always functioning between two boundaries. It cannot go beyond that. It is finite in nature. So if you have to experience something beyond the physical, you need to transcend the limitations of sense perception. If you look at ways, yoga is a simple technology to transcend the limitations of the sense perception. Once you transcend the sense perception, suddenly you are in touch with a dimension which is beyond the physical. Once you are in dimension beyond the physical, this longing to expand in an infinite way is naturally fulfilled. Now, your instinct of self-preservation and your longing to expand in an unbounded way, they are completely fulfilled. In this fulfillment, a blissful human being arises. When there is conflict between these two, all the time the struggle is going on, moments of happiness, moments of joy, but it keeps diving down. We are trying to make ourselves happy in so many different ways. Right now, you read a book and you feel happy. Yes. If you don't get to read a book, suppose we burn all the books in the world, then you would be very unhappy. Isn't it? So all the time, you're trying to fill yourself with something which is not you and try to make yourself happy. Either people or words or things or whatever. You're trying to include something as a part of you and trying to be happy, isn't it? Yes? You want to eat something and be happy, you want to buy something and be happy, you want to include somebody else as a part of you and be happy, or you want to include the whole world through the book and be happy, whichever way. Can I tell you too? One day, a bull just strayed into the forest. There was an old lion which saw this nice, well-grown bull. You know, a bull is so much easier to hunt than any of the creatures in the forest. So, the lion left its lips and waited for the moment, pounced upon him, killed him, and really ate him whole, with his stomach full. When you get to do what you think you want to do, suddenly you feel like top of the world, isn't it? So he felt top of the world. With great satisfaction, he roared. A few hunters were passing and they heard this roar. Then they tracked down the lion and shot him dead. The moral of the story is, when you're full of bull, do not open your mouth. Right now, what you call as myself is just not a bull that we acquired from other places. You see, everything that you know as me is something that you gathered from outside. Now, the more and more you try to say about your life, the more and more mess you will make about it. People who are just living simply, not bothering over anything, they seem to be living a little more joyfully than people who are thinking and talking about their lives, isn't it? It should be the other way around. People who are looking at their life and thinking about it more and more, they should get to live better. But that's not the reality. Simple people who don't know any of this seem to have more happiness quotient in their life than people who are constantly thinking. It's unfortunate. It should be the other way around. But this is simply because you're too much bull, No connection with the reality. Too much up here. You are not a living being. I want you to know this. You are just a thinking being. And what nonsense can you think? Whatever you think has got nothing to do with the reality. Now we are here, 50 people. These 50 people are not in one world. They are in 50 different worlds. Isn't it so?
Yes.
So does it mean to say there are 50 different realities or 50 different falsehoods? You can create a million lies, but truth is just one. You cannot create it, you can't do anything in it. You can only fall back into it. It's not something that you invent. You can just fall back into it. It's a kind of homecoming. Now, how to get there? I know there are any number of methods and methods and methods. There are really no any number of methods. There's only one method, but we can categorize it as 4 parts. If we want, we can use our body. We can make an effort to reach our ultimate nature through our body, our physical action. If you employ your body for this purpose, we call it karma yoga, yoga of action. Using action as a method, any kind of action. Using intense activity as a process to break the limitations of being just a physical entity. Or you can use your intelligence. Then we call this Jnana Yoga, yoga of intelligence. You can use your intelligence and penetrate through the limitations of who you are right now. That is called Jnana Yoga. Or you can use your emotion and break through the limitations. This is called as Bhakti Yoga, yoga of emotion or devotion, which is the most popular way in the world. Or you can use your inner energies, transforming them so that they break through the limitations of being limited. This is called as Kriya Yoga, yoga of transforming energies. These are the only 4 ways, because these are the only 4 realities with you right now. You have a body, you have a mind, you have emotions, and you can understand there must be some kind of energy to make these 3 things happen. Rest is all your imagination. These are the only 4 realities. So if you want to start somewhere, if you want to make a journey, you can only start from where you are. You cannot start from another place, isn't it? If you make an attempt to start from another place, you will hallucinate for your whole life and nothing will happen. So these are the 4 basic yogas. Without employing these 4, there is no way. Now what this means is head, heart, hands and energy. Is there anybody here who's just big head, no hearts, hands and energy? A lot of people think so, but is there anybody just one big heart, not the other things? You're a combination of these 4 things, isn't it? But each person here is a unique combination of these 4 things. Accordingly, a right mixture has to be done. Why in the traditions there has been so much importance has been laid for a spiritual master or a guru is just this, that he mixes the right kind of combination for you. Another person's combination is not going to work for you. And you yourself can never analyze or judge yourself exactly the way you are, because there's no distance between you and yourself. So mixing the right kind of concoction so that it works. If these 4 things don't get together, there is no way to break the limitations. What does breaking limitations mean? There are many, many ways to understand this. Let me put it very simply for you. Right now, take your right hand and touch your left hand and see. Is that you? Those of you who don't say anything with me. I know you're angry, you can just say this. Is this you? Yes? Yes, it's you. Touch this chair on which you're sitting and see. Is this you? No? How do you know? How do you know that this is you and this is not you? What is the basis of your knowing? Learning? You learned it in a book? I'm sorry? In the sense?
This hand feels this hand feels this hand. When I touch the chair, I don't know that the chair feels like that.
maybe the chair is filling the hole. Okay, if you touch the person next to you, the person definitely is feeling back, but is that you? No. What?
It's not connected.
Okay. The thing is sensation. In this there is sensation, in this there is no sensation for you. Maybe there is sensation there, but in your experience, your sensations are limited to this. So what you call as myself right now is just whatever is within the boundary of your sensations is you. What is beyond the boundary of your sensations is not you, isn't it? So, isn't it so? Don't agree with me. Is it so or not?
It's so.
And just strictly physical.
Huh?
In strictly physical and sensitive.
What other way? Help me. In your living experience, what you think is immaterial because you can think any nonsense that you want. Everybody is free to think whatever he wants, but it may have nothing to do with reality, isn't it? Right now, you can think, I'm an angel, I'm flying. It's all right. But we know if you take off from the window, where you will be. Experientially, you are experiencing only the boundaries of your sensation as you. Anything beyond these boundaries is not you. Isn't it so?
It is so.
See, right now, this water in this glass, is this you? No. But if you drink this, it becomes you. Over 70% of your body is water. But the water is in the tumbler, it's not you. You drink it, it becomes you. You're beginning to experience it as yourself, isn't it? So if you just include this into the boundaries of your sensation, it becomes you. Anything that you include into the boundary of your sensations become you. See, right now, you're experiencing this left hand as yourself. But what is this body? This body is just a heap of food that you gathered over a period of time, isn't it? Yes? Or it is just a piece of earth that you picked up, isn't it? Yes? So this body is just a piece of earth, right now prancing around like this, but it is a piece of earth, isn't it? But when it's there, you did not experience it as myself. But the moment it is included into the boundaries of your sensation, you experience it as yourself. So here, yoga is a simple technology of finding the handle for your sensation, the doors of your sensation, and opening it up so that just everything explodes into the sphere of your sensation. You begin to experience everything as a part of yourself. If you experience, let's say for example, this hall, this is the world, right now you experience everybody in this hall as a part of yourself even for a single moment. Then after that, I don't have to teach you morality. I don't have to teach you be good to this person, don't kill that person, don't harm this person. It would be just unnecessary because anything that you experience is a part of yourself. With that you are in perfect harmony, isn't it? Did anybody teach you such models? Don't bite this little finger, don't cut it off, don't damage it. Do you need such models?
No.
No scriptures were written about it. Simply because anything that you experience is a part of yourself. There is no conflict with that. You are in perfect harmony. Now, modern science has always been trying to prove to you that the whole existence is just one religion. The religions of the world have always been screaming for ages that God is everywhere, isn't it? Whether you say everything is one energy or God is everywhere, is it any different? God is everywhere. Everything is one energy. Is it any different? Same reality. It is just that the scientist mathematically deduces this reality. A religious person just believes it A yogi is not willing to settle for deductions or belief systems. Unless he experiences it, he won't settle. So, here's a simple technology of finding the handle for your sensations and opening it. It's so simple. For example, let's say you're imprisoned in this room. You're locked in this room. But you do not know the very concept of what is a door handle. Now, you try to go through the wall, break your head, do everything except get out, isn't it? Do you see sometimes if an animal is trapped in this room, how they struggle and kill themselves simply because they do not know the concept of a door handle? If you just understand that if you yank it this way, it opens up the whole world for you. So right now, your experience of life is just caged within the limitations of your senses. If you find the handle for this, it just opens up the whole existence. It is not that you, right now you're existing as a part of this existence. You can hold the existence as a part of you. That's yoga. When you hold the whole existence as a part of yourself, not intellectually, not thinking we are all one, experientially, then you are in yoga. That's what yoga means, yogi. Yogi means one who is in that experience. It's my wish and my blessing that all of you in some ways will become a yogi. Otherwise, life remains unfulfilled. If you have questions, any kind of questions.
I got one.
Yes, I read, we had the article in the paper over the weekend, about your transformation and about how you became, what you are today. And I was wondering if the techniques that you teach were things that you practiced prior to the experience of sitting on the hill and becoming one with everything or having that experience, or was this something that you developed after that experience?
So this is much better technology than what I was doing.
Okay.
Because for me it took 12, 13 years.
Oh,
I don't want you to take that long.
okay,
This is much improved technology.
okay. Very good.
No question.
Yeah, I guess I was just asking, what are the practices? Just briefly.
As I said, when you say me, you are body, mind, emotion, energy. You are a combination of this, isn't it? So what you do must include all these aspects. Just attending to one of them will not be sufficient. So the practice involves all the four dimensions always. When you say what are the practices, there are things that we do with the mind, there are things that we do with the emotion, things that we do with the energy, and a little bit with the body. All these aspects are there. And it's individual. Though the programs are conducted for large groups of people, it's a very individual experience. It involves certain kriyas. It has a very powerful meditation system called shunya, or in other words, we will teach you how to do nothing. That's the fundamental practice. Everywhere you go, you learn how to do something. Here, we're teaching you how to do nothing. Consciously doing nothing for a few moments a day. You will see what a miracle your whole thing becomes. When I say doing nothing, the basis or the stage for shunya is just this. If you fall back into shunya, shunya literally means emptiness. If you fall back into that state, you will see if you sit here, your body is here, your mind is hanging out there, you are somewhere else. Three distinct identities arise within you. Once you are like this, see if at all, if you know any suffering, whatever suffering you have known in your life, has entered you either through the body or through the mind, isn't it so? For all the human suffering in the world, where is the manufacturing unit? Atlanta? Where is it? Where is it? In your mind, isn't it? Once there is a distance between you and your mind, this is the end of suffering. There is no possibility of suffering. Once there is no fear of suffering, once this thing about what will happen to me is taken away from you, except in the physical dimension, what will happen to me is completely out of your life. You live your life in a completely different way, with enormous zest and potential. You can throw yourself into anything that you want, because you got nothing to lose, nothing could happen to you, Right now, all the time, unnecessarily, self-preservation is coming into every aspect of your life, isn't it? When there is nothing to preserve except your physical body, do you know with how much freedom you can function in the world outside? So, the practice is a combination of all these things.
When you first began, there were a chant. Do you call it?
What's that?
When you first began, do you refer to that as a chant? And if so, or whatever it was, could you give the interpretation of it when you first started out?
Oh, you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
the chant. The English language doesn't allow us to go all the way. We'll get close to it. Jananam Sukhanam means birth or life is pleasure. Life is joy. Maranam Karunam means, but death is compassion. Oh, how can death be compassion? People who are clinging to their life, they think death is their enemy. But it is not so. Suppose you are giving a suppose you are given a life sentence, that is, you cannot die. Do you know what a horrible thing it would be? Yes. You can never die. It would be a most horrible thing to happen to a human being. When you are done with life, when everything that you have to do is over and you just have to live on and on and on, it would be a terrible thing. So when death comes at the right moment in your life, it's a huge compassion. This happened. You know Alexander? Alexander the Great. Like every powerful human being, when they become powerful or rich or whatever in the world, they'll get desperate about their death. They want to live more. As societies become affluent, they want to live more and more, though they live a meaningless life. Alexander wants to become immortal. All rich and powerful people, the kings and queens, have always thought about immortality, to put themselves into a freeze, to be there forever. So Alexander started pursuing immortality in a big way. Then he went towards India, conquering. Then he met the yogi. Then he asked him, I have heard in India there are various things, mystical things. I want to become immortal. What is the way? The yogi said, indicated a particular kind of forest in the area. He said, you go there. And if you go to this kind of place, there is a cave. In the cave there is a small pool. You drink the water from this pool, you will become immortal. Alexander started off an expedition. After much searching, they found a cave, and as the yogi had said, there was a pool of water. He went about to drink. Then he thought, oh, I forgot to ask this man whether he drank or not. It bothered him a little bit. Then he thought, anyway, he will drink. He was about to put his hands into it. There was an old crow sitting there, a crow, a bird. The crow said, stop. Alexander looked up. The crow said, think before you drink from this pool. I made the mistake of drinking from this pool, and here I am. I cannot die. I think this is the most horrible thing that can happen to anybody. I cannot die. You know, you cannot even commit suicide. You blow your brains out, you continue to live without your brains. That's what it means. So the crow said, you think I did this mistake, and here I am, just sitting here, don't know what to do with life, because I can't get rid of it. Alexander thought, looked at the crow again and again. Then he withdrew from that place. He had enough intelligence to see that he didn't want to sit like this after some time. So death is a great compassion. Then milanam maduram means meeting and mingling is sweet. But remembrance is compassion. All the time you have to be with people, it will become torturous, you know. You go back and you remember. Remembrance is compassion. Balavashadika means if you do not get, if you keep your original nature, Bala means actually child, but here it's being referred to as, if you keep your original nature intact, everything is compassion. Samayadipata means if you are beyond time, if you are not influenced by the processes of time, the whole existence is compassion. It is.
One other question. You were speaking of the different yogas of the different areas, the body, the mind or the intellect, which I am interpreting as the mind and emotions. How do you, or how does awareness fit into this? I mean, when you're not thinking, when your mind is not racing and thinking about something all the time, when you do reach that point of doing nothing, you're still aware. How does that awareness play into that, or consciousness play into the yoga?
The awareness is not something that you do. Thought is something that you do, isn't it? Maybe you're doing it unconsciously, but thought is something that you do. Awareness is not something that you do. Awareness is something that you are. You know you are only because you're aware, isn't it? It is just that right now your awareness has restricted itself just to small aspects of you. The rest of it, a large part of you has remained unaware. Now we are just seeing how to extend awareness to everything that you are. From the atomic you to the ultimate you. To extend your awareness to all dimensions of your life. So awareness is not my invention or your invention. It is the very way life is, isn't it? Even an animal is aware. An insect is aware. Even a single-celled animal has its own awareness. Limited, but aware, isn't it? So you are also aware, but in a limited way. Now we are seeing how to extend this awareness to all aspects of who we are.
Yeah, I had a question regarding what you were just speaking on about death, and about death being compassion. A lot of religions, a variety of religions, seem to concern themselves with immortality, usually through a transformation that takes place, post-death, after death. Can you speak on that for a moment, please?
Now, it is not about immortality in that sense. Immortality, not in the physical sense, but in an ultimate sense. Yes. I think when we began, that's a distinction I was trying to draw. There is one part of you which is physical, which needs to be preserved for a certain period of time. And a certain instinct has been put into you by nature, which is always in function, isn't it? Physical self-preservation, all the time is active. If you look at an animal, that's all he's got. Self-preservation is all that he's got. Everything that he does is just self-preservation. It is just that when you come as a human being, another crazy longing to become unbounded has come into you. Now, what is human is trying to address this dimension. When you say unbounded, what can be unbounded? They've always told you God is everywhere. Let's go by the old standards, though it's not necessary to bring better perspective to you. They have told you God is unbounded, isn't it? He's everywhere means he's unbounded.
Right.
So there is something in you which is longing towards your divinity. But there is something in you which is pulling you back towards your animal nature. So we say in yoga, there are three dimensions in which life is happening. Mruga, Manusya, and Deva. This means animal nature, human nature, and divine nature. Animal nature is well established. Divine nature is very well established. But what is human is unestablished. It is constantly hanging between the two. What you call as human is not an established state, it's a flux. You can fall any way you want. This moment you can be God-like, next moment you can be like a brute. This choice you have, isn't it? Do you see in your life, this moment you're wonderful, next moment you turn nasty, another moment ugly, another moment beautiful? Aren't you like this? Yes? Because there is no established sense of what is human. You can fall any way you want. See, suppose an animal is born. Let's say a tiger is born. A tiger need not sit here and worry how to become a good tiger. Will I become a good tiger? Will I end up as a house cat? There are no such programs. All he has to do is just find enough food. If he finds enough food, he will become a good tiger. That's all. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just has to find enough food, that's all. Because everything is laid out for him, everything is set up for him, his life. Because his life is just in the ambit of self-preservation and procreation. It is also self-preservation in a different way. But now, once you become human, you are born as a human being, but still to become a good human being, how many things you have to do? How much ever you do, you still don't know where the hell you belong, isn't it? Yes or no? If comparing yourself with somebody, you can say, oh, I'm better than this man. But by yourself, you don't know where you stand as a human being, isn't it so? Because what is human is not established. It doesn't have any particular quality. This not having any particular framework is freedom. It is this freedom that humanity is suffering right now. See, if you suffer your bondage, it's okay. If you suffer your freedom, that's tragic, isn't it? Yes or no? Right now, you're suffering your freedom. This freedom that you can become anything is a curse when you're unaware. But that is your benediction if you become aware. So what you call as immortality is that which is without limitations. Not just in terms of time, in every way. Only the unbounded can be immortal, isn't it? So when we talk about immortality, or various religions, when they did talk about immortality, which could be in many ways misinterpreted over a period of time, when they talk about immortality, they are talking about addressing that dimension in you which is longing to become unbounded, because only unbounded can be immortal. They are not talking about making yourself into a mummy and preserving yourself forever. Physically, no. Immortality is being referred to that dimension in you which is longing to become unbounded, not about preserving yourself forever. There is no such thing. Because even the planet is not forever, even the solar system is not forever, even the galaxies are not forever, isn't it? All of them have a lifespan. It's just that you think in years, they think in millions of years, that's all.
Just want to know about the average time it takes for transformation. I'm sure it can be immediate or maybe years. Can you address that, the average person when they start a program? When do you notice there is change?
Okay, the program is structured it's a very intensive program. You have to approach it with commitment, total commitment, at least for 7 days. These 7 days we are going through various processes of self-exploration. This is not a teaching, this is not a philosophy, this is not a belief system, this is not an ideology. This is not something outside of you. This is something that you do to yourself. This is not something that somebody does to you. Now, transformation in terms of your ways of feeling and experiencing can happen within the 7 days itself. But I would say, in about 6 to 8 weeks of practice, you will notice significant changes in one's life. The very fundamentals could change. It's a live process. It is not just a bundle of instructions. You need to understand this is a subjective science. So it has to come to you as a live process. If you just receive it as a bundle of instructions, either through a book or audio tape or teachers who just are instructing people, it's not the same thing. It is a live process. It is a living thing.
There's a lot of yoga teachers and a lot of yoga practices, and I've personally been around a lot of them. There's something that's really more intense here. I mean, something that has to do with having you behind it. And I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit, but it just, people are having big experiences, bigger than I've had. I mean, we've all thought, well, how many lifetimes is it going to take doing this breathing before something will happen? Something happens here, and having a guru behind it, it's having this person behind it is just different. So I wonder if you could just speak to that a little bit.
Once there was a lady in India, her name was Sitama. Sitama, can you see that? She was a cook, and she made paisam. Paisam is kind of sweet. Let's say, like, it's a liquid sweet. Did anybody taste paisam at any time? Paisam? Did you taste it? No? Oh, you should. So Sita's payasam was so tasty. People always wanted the recipe. So she freely wrote down the recipe and gave it to people. Everybody went home and made the same payasam. But nowhere does the payasam taste like Sita's payasam. So after much frustrating effort, people asked her, what is the secret? This is a simple woman, simple uneducated person. What is the secret of your payasam? There is no payasam like yours in the world. What is the secret? We put the same ingredients, same sugar, same this thing, same that thing, everything same. But what is the secret of your payasam? She simply said, I put myself into it. So, this is not just about the breath. I will set fire to your breath. You would say, you not yet come to samyama. You come to samyama and literally set fire to your breath. You take one inhalation, it will inflame you. You cannot contain your energies anymore. You will explode. Just one inhalation. You'll think you're on coke or something. Just a simple pure air inhalation. You will see it just explode inside of you. Because yoga is not in its instructions. It's a subjective science. Unless you know how to put yourself into it, there is no yoga. The yoga that's happening in the West is just the body of yoga, soulless yoga. What to do with your body without you in it? You're no good, isn't it?
Would you give us the, peace and love, would you give us the correct pronunciation of your name and meaning?
Because she couldn't get it properly.
Those were your words.
I'm generally known as Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. Meaning to what? The first part of the name is something that's been given to me by people. The last two parts given to me by my parents. First part of the name has been given to me by people who experienced me in a certain way. My parents gave me the name, out of their love but not knowing who the hell I am. Yes.
Understand that.
So, Sadhguru means an uneducated guru. No spiritual education, no scriptures, no traditions, no nothing. The only thing that I know is myself. Nothing else but myself. I don't know anything else. What is me is all that I know, and that's more than enough. Jaggi Vasudev means, that is a shorter version of Jagadish. Jagadish means, I don't know why they gave me this name. But anyway, this was not given to me by my parents. I'm just telling the history now that you asked this. When I was born, it's very strange because my father is a physician. He's a physician, too much physician. And when I was born, somehow I was born at home, not in a hospital. And that's a very strange thing for my dad to allow that to happen. Because he's a physician, all medical. When I was born, a certain man in the town where I was born, an old person, who was known to be intuitive, uninvited, came home and offered that he will write my horoscope and offered to name me. So usually, each community of people in India have their own people who write their horoscopes. The others are not allowed to do it. But because this person was known to be very intuitive, when he came and offered, because he's an old person, he offered, they said yes. So he called me Jagadish. Jagadish means, Jaga means existence. Isha means one who rules that. So he gave me that name and that stuck. And he wrote a horoscope. He just wrote a one-sentence horoscope. He just wrote, he lives a very fortunate life. That's all he wrote. So, leaving that apart, Vasudeva means, that's my father's name, I'm carrying my father's name. Vasudeva means like a, it's actually Krishna's name, it means a shepherd. You know, like for example, in this culture, Jesus is being referred as a shepherd. So in India, Krishna is referred as a cowherd. So Vasudeva means one who herds the cows. It is, symbolic and significant in a different way, not necessarily a cowboy. One who herds the cows towards their home. So that's about names.
Thank you. Would you speak to us about personal power and what happens when we give away our power and what we need to do to maintain it?
Power in what sense?
In terms of personal, not so much strength, our spiritual power, our personal power, who we are in our essence.
So these are two different things.
Okay.
Now you're putting them together. You're saying it in the same breath, our spiritual power, our personal power. I want you to understand. Your personality is something that you created unconsciously. Your spirituality, you did not create it. It's something that you come with. These are two different dimensions. The very word persona means a mask. Mask. It's a mask that you created to survive in the world. But maybe you created it unconsciously. I created it very consciously. My mask is a very conscious mask. You will see at different times a very different mask. People are probably confused. But your personality is your unconscious creation. A complex amalgamation of so many impressions that you take in the form of life. But your spirituality is not something that you create. It is something that you come with. It is something that you can be in touch with, not do anything with. Your personality, you can mend it, you can shape it, you can create it in different ways, isn't it? But your spirituality, you cannot do anything about it. You can only fall back into it. So when you say power, if it is in terms of using something to do something in the world, effectiveness in the world, is that what you're talking about?
Sort of. Not exactly power to do something with. Power in terms of how I move through the world, who I am, and how I interact with people, and how I engage with people.
Power. The power of your personality. So if your personality has to be powerful, what would be the most powerful way to be here? So there are two kinds of powers. For example, there are two kinds of strength in the world. One thing is right now I want to bend this steel rod. It is not bending. What is it doing? I want to break this. It is not breaking. What is it doing? Resisting.
Yes.
Resistance is one kind of power in the world. You resist everything. Another way is accepting, is another kind of power. Dissolving is another kind of power. See, if you are like the steel rod, maybe I cannot break you, but somebody else can break you. We can put you in a machine and make you into bits. So if you have resistance power, something or the other is going to crack you up someday. If the processes of life don't break you, death will definitely break you. Don't you have any doubt about it. But now let's say you are a dissolving kind of power. You dissolved everything that you consider as yourself. Now you become like an empty space. Right now, let's say there is nothing here. This nothingness, what can you do with it? Shall we cut it into pieces? Shall we kick it? Shall we beat it up? If there was little resistance, I would have slapped it. But no resistance. You cannot do anything with it, isn't it? This is another kind of power. You can choose. If you're a dissolving kind of power, then you will see the whole world can go through you without leaving a scratch upon you. If you're a resistance kind of power, you will be wounded. Most people are wounded in their life, isn't it? With age, wisdom has not come. People have just become wounded. I don't know to what extent you are exposed to this. You know, I'm always in contact with people in different ways. If you just open the top surface of the people, they're carrying so many wounds within them. Even the so-called well-to-do, successful, reasonably happy people, they're carrying enormous amount of wounds within them. They've learned to somehow armor plate themselves, but wounds and wounds and wounds, because your resistance. If you're a dissolving kind of, if you're like a nothing, no resistance in you, you would go through this life untouched. Then you are beyond time, because time doesn't take a toll on you. Then you're like your original nature, which I like all the time. Nothing leaves a mark upon you. More intelligent way to live, isn't it?
Thank you.
So, Jaggi, one such as yourself experiences union. What motivates you to come and travel halfway around the world to help us?
I'm just fooling around. Now, what motivates you to travel just halfway across the world? Not all the way, you know, just halfway. Now, just breathe. Greed is the only thing that drives you. Now, greed is, once you become blissful within yourself, you become greedy. You want to live in a blissful world, not just blissful within yourself. Just this greed that someday maybe you can make the whole world blissful. And you can live in a blissful world. Just that greed which drives you.
When you incarnated in this lifetime, were you conscious? I guess I want to say, did you forget from the time before, with your learnings before, or do you feel like you carried that knowledge forth through the veils?
She's asking a question which is not relevant to lots of people you have to bear with. Now, did I remember the past? Or did I remember whatever else could have been done for me? You need to understand this is a protective system. If you have not already heard about it because you're in a bookstore which could have brought you lots of information. See, there have been many yogis who become realized in their childhood. These are called Bala yogis, child yogis. These Bala yogis never survive beyond 1820 because they will not have the wherewithal to hold on to their body beyond realization. So, if you have something to do, if you wish to do something with what you have within you, then you always give yourself a buffer. Nature itself offers a buffer, plus you also create a certain situation where it comes to you at a certain level of physical and mental maturity. It doesn't come too early. If it comes too early, you will not be able to contain the body. You know, with my life, it's like crazy. At that time, I just couldn't make any sense out of it. I remember things which happened around me when I was just 2 months old or 3 months old. Not big events, just ordinary things. In the family, somebody is talking something. I remember what color saree my mom was wearing. I remember what she was saying to the milkman, carrying me in her hands. These kind of things. When I used to just say these things to my mother, you were talking like this to somebody at that time, I was so small, she wouldn't believe me. She said, somebody must have told you these things. There is no way. But nobody can tell me because she was the only one who was there at that time. And these are not any great events, just normal conversations. I just remember, since I was 2.5 months of age, I remember almost every little event that's happened around me. Like I remember, I forget what is day before yesterday. To some point, you do, isn't it? You don't remember the whole 24 hours, but you remember so many things, just like that. I did not remember what was beyond this, but one guiding factor just kept me going was, see, right from my childhood, always in the background of my eyes, I always had a particular mountain peak. You won't believe this. Till I was 16 years of age, I thought in everybody's eyes there are mountains. Only when I was around 16, when I really spoke to my friends, I realized nobody has mountains in their eyes. Only I have mountains in my eyes. Somehow, knowingly or unknowingly in early age, but later on consciously, I always looking for this mountain. All the time. You won't believe when I was just 8, 9, 10, 11 years of age rather. If I just get 10 rupees in my hands, I would just buy, bread and something else for myself, and I would just disappear to the mountain, just leave a note at home and go away. You can imagine the havoc. A 10-year-old boy just disappears for 3 days, and the searching around the town, the police, and this and that, and the works. And I would just go walk up and down this mountain which is near my town, just camp there, sleep there. When I run out of bread, I'm back home. I always came home. Once the bread is gone, I always came home. So slowly it formed a pattern, then wherever he goes, he comes back on the appointed day. So if I leave usually on a Friday morning, I skip the Friday morning school, and if I leave, I'll always be back Sunday night or Monday early morning. I'll be back totally messed up with my clothes, and because I don't take anything, I just go and sleep in the forest or hang around on the trees in the mountains. So these mountains in my eyes constantly somehow pushed me to any outcrop on the land. Means I want to go there and see any mountain I want to climb. I trekked across Western Ghats, a very long, large and long mountain range. Any number of times I led small expeditions of people into these mountains all the time, not knowing why, but all the time looking for it. And only when I found this particular mountain, that's where we settle down now. Where we are is just a place. So, not exactly conscious memory till I was 25, but at the age of 25, a whole flood of memory descended, which has changed everything about me. nothing of that person till he was 25 has remained. That person is completely evaporated. I think we've had that for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.